right. Thank you so much for coming out to Black History Month celebration here at Alex Haley Heritage Park in Knoxville, Tennessee. This is a great opportunity for the community of Knoxville and the groups of people to get together and show that we support each other. With the things that are going on today in society, it is so important that we do come out and patronize each and every group if possible. I thank you guys again. We're going to have several people that are going to have speeches. I do have some audios I'd like to bring awareness to. I'm going to show you the walks of history when the African American choose. There is some good, there's some bad, and some ugly. But in all of that, we still have hope. We still believe. We as African American people believe that we are the balance in this place that we're at. And so we want to thank you guys for coming out. We thank you for each and every person that supports us. I want you to go ahead and like me at all of my social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Thank you so much. And right now, I've got a great horn player. His name is John. And John will be sharing a little piece of his talent during this Black History Month celebration. John, can you go ahead and take us away with that? John, that was so amazing. We thank you so much for that. That was an awesome play, an awesome piece, and we thank you for that right now. Right now, I do have a little footage. I've been gathering up information, gathering up YouTube videos, speeches from all across America, from people that are professors, historians that have shared their audio stories. And I'd like to play snippets of that just to let you know where we have come from. Thank you guys so much. Just 1 second.
Number one, put God first. Put God first in everything you do. Everything that you think you see in me, everything that I've accomplished, everything that you think I have, and I have a few things, everything that I have is by the grace of God. Understand that. It's a gift. 40 years ago, March 27th, 1975, it was 40 years ago, just this past March, I was flunking out of college. I had a 1.7 grade point average. I hope none of you can relate. I had a 1.7 grade point average. I was sitting in my mother's beauty shop. They still call it beauty shops now? What they call it now? Yeah, I was sitting in the beauty parlor. I was sitting in my mother's beauty parlor, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I see behind me this woman under the dryer. And every time she looked up, every time I looked up, she was looking at me. She was looking me in the eye. And I didn't know who she was, and I said, she said, somebody give me a pen. Give me a pencil. I have a prophecy. March 27, 1975. She said, boy, you are going to travel the world.
Wow.
And speak to millions of people.
Wow.
Now, mind you, I was flunked out of college. I'm thinking about joining the army. I didn't know what I was going to do, and she's telling me I'm going to travel the world and speak to millions of people. Well, I have traveled the world. And I have spoke to millions of people.
Wow.
But that's not the most important thing, the success that I had. The most important thing is that what she taught me and what she told me that day has stayed with me since. I've been protected. I've been directed.
Yes.
I've been corrected.
Yes.
I've kept God in my life and it's kept me humble.
Absolutely.
I didn't always stick with him, but he always stuck with me.
Amen.
So stick with him in everything you do.
Everything we do.
If you think you want to do what you think I've done, then do what I've done and stick with God. Number 2, fail big.
Woo!
That's right. Fail big. Today is the beginning of the rest of your life, and it can be very frightening. It's a new world out there. It's a mean world out there, and you only live once.
YOLO.
So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances.
Yes.
Professionally. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test, was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. So don't be afraid to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams. And they ultimately fuel disappointment. So have dreams, but have goals. Life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, daily goals. I try to give myself a goal every day. Sometimes it's just to not curse somebody out. Simple goals, but have goals. And understand that to achieve these goals, you must apply discipline and consistency. In order to achieve your goals, you must apply discipline, which you've already done, and consistency every day, not just on Tuesday and miss a few days. You have to work at it every day. You have to plan every day. You've heard the saying, we don't plan to fail.
No.
We fail to plan.
Wow.
Hard work works.
Yes, it does.
Working really hard is what successful people do. And in this text, tweet, twerk world that you've grown up in, remember, just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Remember that. Just because you're doing a lot more
wise words
doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Don't confuse movement with progress. My mother told me, she said, yeah, because you can run in place all the time and never get anywhere. So continue to strive, continue to have goals, continue to progress. Number 3, you'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. I'll say it again. You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. I don't care how much money you make, you can't take it with you. And it's not how much you have. It's what you do with what you have. We all have different talents. Some of you will be doctors, some lawyers, some scientists, some educators, some nurses, some teachers. Yeah, okay. Some preachers. The most selfish thing you can do in this world is help someone else.
Thank you for coming.
Why is it selfish? Because the gratification, goodness that comes to you.
I appreciate it.
The good feeling that I get
appreciate it.
From helping others. Nothing's better than that. Not jewelry, not big house I have, not the cars, but it's the joy. That's where the joy is in helping others. That's where the success is.
Yes.
Finally, I pray that you put your slippers way under the bed tonight. So that when you wake up in the morning, you have to get on your knees to reach them.
Yes, 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 yes.
And while you're down there, say thank you.
Thank you.
For grace.
For grace.
Thank you for mercy. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for wisdom. Thank you for parents. Thank you for love. Thank you for kindness. Thank you for humility.
That's right.
Thank you
Put
for
your
peace.
fist in the air, guys.
Thank you
Put
for
your fist in the
prosperity.
air.
Say thank you in advance for what's already yours. That's how I live my life. That's why I am. One of the reasons why I am today. Say thank you in advance for what is already yours. True desire in the heart for anything good is God's proof to you sent beforehand to indicate that it's yours already.
Oh, I received
I'll
that.
say it again.
Do you receive that? I
True
received
desire
that.
in
Do
the
you
heart,
receive
that itch
that?
that you have, whatever it is you want to do, that thing that you want to do to help others and to grow and to make money, that desire, that itch, that's God's proof to you. Sent beforehand already to indicate that it's yours.
It is ours.
And anything you want good, you can have.
We can have it.
So claim it.
Claim goodness.
Work hard to get it.
Work hard.
When you get it, reach back. Pull
Reach
someone else up.
back and
Each
pull
one,
someone up.
Teach one. Don't just aspire to make a living. Aspire to make a difference.
I gave that because of that inspirational speech that he gave at the college level, where he was giving the speech, and it inspired me that was not just for those students, those graduate college students that were no longer students, but were entering the world of employment, of e-commerce, and he gave that speech saying, don't just do it for the money. And don't just, when you get there, don't keep going and don't look back. Pay it forward. Do everything in goodness and in righteousness. Denzel Washington made that speech, and it inspired me, and I hope that it inspired you a little bit, gave you a thought, gave you an intuition of the mission and of the goals that you should plan every day. Because Martin Luther King always had the dream, but the goal still has to be accomplished. And so I'm here today, Yolanda at Inspirational Moments. I'm here today celebrating Black History Month, sharing little snippets and pieces of African history. I owe it to myself. I owe it to my community. For those that don't stand with me, I stand in the gap. For those that will not put their fist in the air, I put two for you. So I continue to stand forward. I continue to give myself, and I hope that these little snippets and these speeches and this celebration out here at the Alex Haley Heritage Park will encourage you to come in and join in. There's room for everyone, and I hope I get to see you be a part of it. Thank you so much. I wanted to bring my horn player back out and let him bring a little melody to the atmosphere. So thank you guys for allowing us to share this moment with you guys. Thank you for being here, encouraging. It takes something, a really big person to want to continue on when there's a small crowd. Because when there's a big crowd, it becomes easy to be the leader or to join in the crowd. But leaders walk ahead of the crowd, and then the crowd follows. So I consider myself a leader in this movement. I consider myself a person that is encouraging each and every person, not just the African American people, because I can't do that. You know, that's what has to be known. We can't do that. We have to embrace everyone as a whole. What I did learn during African Black History Month, is that race was created and developed for separation. How about that? Did anyone know that? I mean, so I know everybody didn't know that because I didn't know that. And so I began to dig a little bit deeper, and I started going back into records, back into the 1400s, speeding up to the 1300s, 1500s, and so forth. So when I got to the 1600s, I started to realize that they had separated the groups of people because, let me back it up. Before we were races, before we were groups, we were tribes. We were tribes, we were clans, and when the great change came, the people of power decided that they would bring about race. And with that, they brought about all kinds of destruction when they brought about that race. When we were doing just fine as a group of people, we were doing just fine as a group of people, I say that again, as a tribe, as a clan. But the metrics of that changed over history, and things changed. And we were not the only group that was put into slavery. We were not the only group. Not here in America. I just I wanted to inform those African Americans that don't know that we were not. It was a different time. It was a different time, but we were not the only ones that were slaves. I figured that out because it was based upon class, the class of people. That's what that was based upon. So if you were not of the upper class, you were considered of the lower class. There was no color, race that had anything to do with that. So they had to figure out how to let the Caucasian people feel a little more important. So they would give them a little extra food. They would give them a little extra wood when they built their homes, and then they would make them power of authority. That's how we came upon the police, because they used to make sure that they policed the yards and the plantations to make sure that the slave owners didn't lose any of their precious money, because we were considered money. If you've seen an African American walking in the street or there were no streets, but you've seen them walking in the woods, the thing is to capture them, because guess what? That could possibly feed your family for a whole year. That is horrifically different for me to take in. As I began to continue to read, I began to see that I was taught that we were some type of a poor race, but actually we were the wealthiest, because wealth came if you had an African American by your side. Wealth came if you had African Americans taking care of your land. Notes were written on our ancestors' heads. My grandmother, my great-great-grandmother, her great-great-grandmother and grandfathers, notes, contracts, petitions were written for wealth on their head. I think that is very important to know, that they called us precious cargo back then. However, we were precious. That was without a doubt. The fact was, we did not understand what we were coming into and what we were being required to do, and it was mandatory. So as I moved on through history, finding out about my people as a whole, what was really the slip up. And I'm going to tell you this. I was speaking with a scholar. They're a scholar to me. And she told me, she said, I'm going to send you this story about the first African king that sold his people into slavery. I said, I didn't read about that. She says, oh yes. I'm going to send you proof, because when I speak upon something to you, I've got proof to back it up. That's something different. So she began, I says, well, okay, well, send it to me, but you can tell me about it in the midst of it. So she began to tell me that he had been captured by the Europeans and Spaniards. Portuguese. I think it was Portuguese government. He was captured, and for his release, he negotiated to sell Africans from the country, and for his freedom, because he was a great king. He was a great king of many people and of many lands. He started out selling it for his freedom because they would not release him. And he began to negotiate and manipulate the fact that he was the king and the overseer of a group of people. And they were the African people. So he sold them off. He gave them permission. He told them where their villages were. He told them their whereabouts and how they went about. And of course, anyone seeking to make an income of money back then, they went right on that treasure hunt, because it became a treasure hunt. And every African American that they seen, they captured, and they shipped them on a boat across the ocean to all areas of the world. That's what got me. They didn't just come to America. They didn't ship them just to America. They shipped them to all over the world, the globe. And so that's why you can find us everywhere, a piece of us. There's specks of us, like a chocolate chip. You can find us. There's not many, but there's many. However, I'm going to stay to the story. So once I had learned that it didn't make sense for me, I was just trying to figure it out, because I said, my thing was the wealth gap. The African American wealth gap was the problem for me. But we've rose above that. I mean, we've got billionaire African Americans today here in America. So something is going right for some of them, but not all of them, because most of them are still in poverty with mental health issues. Their health is, deteriorating, drug use, drug abuse, all kinds of social and health issues arise in that manner. And so as I moved on through history, I realized that the African American race was developed, and the African American people, they had a program for. The United States of America's government back then had a plan to develop and put into place a program for African Americans in America. And the first one was to make sure that we brought wealth. And so that's how we became wealthy. Every African American was wealthy, but not under their beneficiary. We had Caucasian slave owners, the plantation owners that were over our wealth. And so that's how the wealth gap began. There's no specific reason why it's still that way. We still don't know why it's that way. But I kind of figured that maybe nobody wants to give up their position if they're not going to be on top of the position. So it doesn't make sense. But however, I'm going to speed it all the way up to, I started to think about, why am I thinking about wealth when the African king sold his people to make money? He knew very well what he was doing. He knew very well that he sold it. So then it became in my mind that it was not America government that did that. It was the African government that did that. It kind of got me I got behooved, because I said, we're after the wrong people. We're looking for an excuse from the wrong people. Why are we looking for closure, approval from the American government when they believe in signing contracts, notes? They believe in making sure that their I's are dotted and their T's are crossed. So they believe that they did everything right. And it was legal for them, because that's just the way it was. So once I found out that, I was really disappointed, because then I said, what do I have? What do I have now? So I speeded on up, because I think it was the Quakers. The Quakers were the first to say that slavery was bad. The Quakers were a Caucasian group. It's historical right now. They've got a they've got a statue that they've got where they were the first people to say that slavery was wrong. And they did not want it to happen. They took this in a back room. They took that decision and they wrote that document. And so that document stands in our U.S. Congress library right now, if anyone would like to know how they could find that information. The Quakers were the first to say that slavery was wrong, and it did not align with their way of walking in the world and goodness and righteousness to their Savior, who is Jesus Christ. So when I seen that the Quakers back then said no. But in hapse of that, they turned around and had another meeting. And in the other meeting, they said, we're not going to take that. We don't want that piece of paper. You're trying to disrupt what we're doing here. We can't put that into place because then everything stops. Then we're going to have to try and figure out what we're going to do. We've brought all of them over here, and now you're telling me we're just going to let them run free to live their life and make their money by themselves? That's exactly what the Quakers were saying. The Quakers said, that's exactly what we want them to do, because if we don't, we're going to bring about destruction to this nation. And as today you see it has brought about a destruction to people. But back to the story. Once I seen that, I said, well, let me go a little bit further. So I went a little bit further in history, I'm coming on up, coming on up, and next thing I think, I hear a little voice say, well, what about Abraham Lincoln? Because I'm still trying to figure out where my stand is. Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation of Independence for black colored people. And he was killed behind it. He promised. Abraham Lincoln was a president of the United States of America. He was a president that had put laws into place. But when he put a law into place to release the African American people, to allow them to be free, and his promise was to give every African American slave or free 40 acres and a mule. However, 40 acres and a mule, I started calculating that. It was like, $100 and something thousand, back then or something like that. However, he was murdered behind that. He was murdered behind that because we could not allow that kind of movement to happen. So, there's always wheels turning. That's my whole thing. There's always wheels turning to keep, not only now in our day and time, it has nothing to do with just race. It's groups of people that they hold back. It's groups of people, the poor middle class people are being held back. And when we talk about poor middle class or, the poor, we're talking about all people. There's no color to poverty. There's no color to mental illness. There is none. So with that being the case, we cannot just separate and say, well, we're not going to do this. But because I'm looking for help for every race, because that's the way we're categorized. I'm looking for help. I'm looking for people that want to make a change, people that believe that African Americans are free. I don't know how many people that I even deal with daily that still tell black in-jokes behind closed doors. I don't know how many are holding me back from certain things because they just don't want me to have it. And let me tell you this, I'm not talking about color or a group. I'm talking about people, because the person that sold every African out of Africa then and was black, was considered of a dark color. He was a king and he sold his people. So I'm talking about every group of people. We really need to bond together, come up with some bills that we can get our legislative together on, because see, everything starts at legislation level. Everything starts with a vote. And voting is important. We really need to vote. Every time the polls are open, it should be expected for every African American to line up out the door and stay there as our ancestors did till they cast their vote. See, that's what our ancestors did. We've been so distracted that we don't even think we're supposed to vote. How dare you think you're not supposed to vote when our ancestors died and when many, 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 many were injured? We're talking about great people that were standing in the gap for us to make sure that we had small freedoms that could make big leaps in history of victories. Because voting is a victory. Whether our constituent wins or not, the fact is that we should vote. Everything is done on a vote. We vote to see who's going to go first. Simple. We vote to see who's the best. The voting is important. African American community, I call you and I challenge you right now that there are 13% African Americans here in Knox County. I challenge you. I challenge you to vote. I challenge you to see, I want to see your voter's registration card. I'm calling you on it. How many have a voter's registration card? How many? How many of you have voter's registration? How many of you voted in the last election? We have people in position that we are going through the community talking about, oh, they're no good. Oh, we don't like them. Oh, they're not doing anything for the community. Well, who voted them in? You want me to tell you who voted them in? You did when you didn't vote. That's who voted those people in. So we have people that are running our communities that are running it into a muck. I came back in Knoxville and I realized that this had been a broken community. When I was here in the 90s, yes, I'm telling my age. When I was here in the 90s, this place was vibrant. The African community was together. The African American community here supported each other. There was so much life in it. I come back here, it's 2022, and it is desolated with pain and hurt and confusion. It's desolated with the hope of the faith that we continue to stand. But however, I'm trying to find out where you are standing at. Where are you? Who are you? Make yourself known that you are one of the ones that have been chosen and elected to be in position to make something happen. And I tell you what, I'm standing in my position, and whatever you say, I'm still standing and doing the work that I'm supposed to do. I challenge you to do your work. I challenge you to be a part of a community that needs you, not the part that is pulling up, starting and agitating things that are not bringing about change and greatness for our community. I'm calling upon you and I'm challenging you to be better than you were last year to this community. This community has had over 15 deaths, murders in the African American community. As a whole, this community here has had a high school, all black high school. They have had more than 4 students killed within 1 year. They have left their families in destruction. There has been no help from the community to support them. I've had families reach out to me and ask me if I would come and pray with them because they said that they believe my prayers work. That says something big. So it's not about what I'm not doing, it's what I'm doing. I'm asking, what are you doing? I'm asking, when did you do something for the community? I'm asking you. I'm waiting. This was a celebration because I wanted to know that I'm celebrating the fact that I am finding the truth. I am moving in my purpose. I have a goal, the dream to go. I have it. But do you? So I want to challenge you to come on out, share your heart. Because like I said, there's a lot of stuff that we need to take care of. There's a lot of things that are left undone. And so with that being the case, we definitely want to support our African American community, the people that want to support them. It is a small community. The state of Tennessee has possibly like 14% African American. So there's no such thing as separation here for the African American people. It's unheard of. Why would you separate? And even if you did, you still have to mingle. There's not if we had a vote, if every African American had a vote here, guess what? We would not win. 14% doesn't win over 100. But we can unite under the same causes and win. We can do that. And so I just wanted to share a little bit. I'll share a little bit with you guys later. But I did want to let my horn player play a little melody for us to settle the scene. And John, thank you so much. Take it away. Welcome, Knoxville, Tennessee. Thank you guys for coming out to Black History Month celebration. We love having you here. This is Inspirational Moments with YOLO. We are celebrating Black history. We are celebrating the history of African Americans in America. Our culture is so thick with great people and great people that have helped us along the way. I'd like to give a big shout out to ProMotion LLC. That is the marketing company, the promotional and production company that is putting this together. I'd like to thank them that. I also like to give a big shout out to the Black Nations Rebirth Ministry for the support. I also would like to thank several other people that are going to be coming to the mic pretty soon. But I wanted to thank you guys for coming out. We're going to have a little bit of a melody of some inspirational music in the meantime. So thank you so much. John, how are you?
Wonderful.
So tell me, I'm gonna tell you a little story. I was in Walmart, and I was thinking about different things and stuff, and he came past me, and I seen him, and then we were still shopping in the store, and then he stopped. And he spoke to me, and we began to conversate, and we were on the same thing as Black people wanting to see change and wanting to support each other and bring people together. And I told him I was having this event, and he was like, "Oh, that's great." I said, "Are you interested in performing or, doing anything, showing the community that you are?" supporting them. And he was like, yes. So with that being the case, I'm going to let you, John, tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
All right, John Hill. I'm from Pascagoula, Mississippi. Went in the Navy for a while. Was an officer in the Navy. I got out in 2006. That's when I moved to Knoxville. So I feel like 16 years I'm a Knoxville native now.
Right.
But I remember I used to play Pee-wee football. And I was real skinny back then. I wasn't stocky or nothing. And all them boys in the 7th grade looked like dudes over there. But I could go get in the band, and I didn't have to get hurt. And they had all the instruments on the table. And I thought about this about 6 months ago. I used to watch Johnny Carson in The Tonight Show. And Doc Severinsen was the coolest dude in the world.
Yeah.
I walked right to that trumpet and picked it up. And that was when I was 11. I could play Dynasty when I was 12.
Wow.
I never looked back.
Amazing. Amazing.
But I bought a keyboard. You know, I got married and stuff, so you don't play your trumpet no more. And then I bought a piano last year, and I want to try to channel Beethoven or something. so bless your heart, because I love to play. It's like all the emotion just come out you at one time.
Yes, yes.
But when I'm singing out that trumpet, you can hear it. But bless you, thank you.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much, John. You guys give John a hand and so continue to support John in all his endeavors. He is a great activist in the community, trying to support the community, and I just really appreciate him coming out to share his talent with us out here at the Alex Haley Heritage Center. I did have another snippet I wanted you guys to hear, because I want to lead you up to why we continue to celebrate Black History Month, why we have still in a dream, but the goal has not been met. Hello, great people of Knoxville, Tennessee. Welcome, welcome to Inspirational Moments with Yolanda. I've got another guest I'd like to bring to the stage, allow her to tell a little bit about herself, her organizations, her businesses, her endeavors. Shanidra Matthews. Come on up, Shanidra. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. Thank you, Shanidra. Thank you for coming. I seen her at a Black History Month celebration the other day, and I began to speak with her because I've known her for a little while. But when I began to speak with her, she has so much on her plate that she's giving back to the community, that she is believing to find people that want to support her also. And so I invited her to come out and share a little bit about herself and her commitments and endeavors that she has going on here in Knoxville. Miss Matthews, come on up and tell us all about it.
Hi everyone, my name is Shanidra. I am the proud owner of Sea Portraits and Magazine LLC. I have a business called Beyond the Cover, which is part of my show, but God has took it beyond the show, and now I teach children. He has provided a building with several rooms for me to help them find their gifts and help people to go beyond the cover and to help them find their gifts, and also get them mentored with people that are doing the gifts that they are gifted at. And also my Destin magazine that showcases other small businesses as well.
So tell us what some of the things that you are teaching. What are they learning over there?
Faith, number one. Faith in God. I teach Bible study every day to the children to let them know about God. That's number one. Self-discipline. I also teach about the different types of bullying and entrepreneurship.
So is that a paid service, or is that a nonprofit?
I'm for profit, but I have not gotten paid. Well, I have gotten paid by God.
Amen.
God supplies all the needs. I haven't received any grants per se, but everything has been paid for exceedingly by God.
Yes. Well, thank you, Miss Matthews, for coming out and sharing your endeavors, what you've got going on in the community. You guys really need to keep an eye on her, because she has got it really going on here, and she is helping everyone that wants to be helped. And I really appreciate hearing about that she teach Bible study. You know, when someone decides that they want to tutor children and teach them about the fundamentals of life using the Bible, it's a great thing. I would suggest you guys get in contact with her. If you guys would like to contact her, you can inbox me with different information, with your information, and I'll connect you guys together. Like I said she is a for-profit organization, and she's also taking any kinds of donations that you guys would be willing to serve with. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, John, for that wonderful, wonderful insert of that music. We really appreciate that. We have another prominent member of the community that has been a pillar in the Knoxville African American community. We'd like to welcome Miss Felicia Asti. She has several organizations. I would like for her to introduce that and share that. But she did have a Black History Month celebration at the Museum last night, and so I attended that, and it was Love is the Answer. She is a art and culture business, and she does dance and art and so forth out of her business. And so she put together a program for the African American community to participate in, and it was absolutely wonderful. I would suggest that you guys follow her and learn about all of the things that she's got going on. And we truly, truly do love the opportunity to have Miss Felicia and her dance ensembles and her art culture here with Inspirational Moments with YOLO. Thank you. Does anyone know Jane Elliott? Professor Jane Elliott. Professor Jane Elliott is a professor in racial disparities. She taught racial culture in a college level. She started teaching that back in the 50s. She started teaching small children. As far as kindergarten, she happened to be one that did not teach racism. She said you have to be taught racism. I want you guys to hear what Jane Elliott, a great professor, has said about racism.
They'd have killed me a long time ago. And if I were black and saying the things I say, I wouldn't be alive. Bullshit! No, you're not gonna say I'm sorry there's racism. No, I do not have to ask you nicely. I consider this exercise an injection of the live virus of racism. This exercise, the next time
Jane Elliott said that there is only one race, and that is the human race. I'm going to say that one more time. There is only one race, and that is the human race. There's no black, white, Hispanic, whatever. Forgive me. Because race is, some people truly believe in race. But for me, there is only one race, and that is the human race.
I watched my students become what I told them they were. I watched little, wonderful, brown-eyed white people become vicious, ugly, nasty, discriminating, domineering people in the space of 15 minutes. I watch where brilliant little blue-eyed white Christian children become timid and frightened and angry and unable to learn in the space of 15 minutes. If you do that with a whole group of people,
With a whole group of
lifetime,
people.
you change them psychologically. You convince those who are analogous to the brown-eyed people that they are superior, that they are perfect, that they have the right to rule.
Did you learn anything this morning?
I think I learned from the experience of feeling like I was in a glass cage and I was powerless. I realized this morning that there were very few times in my life that I've ever been discriminated against, very few.
And you convince those who take the place of the blue-eyed students that they are less than.
How did they feel yesterday? Down like a dog on a leash.
If you do that for a lifetime, what do you suppose that does to them?
That was out of the mouths of a babe. She said, like a dog, he said, like a dog on a leash. The whole problem with that is dogs are treated better than some African American people in our society. Dogs are treated as kings and queens and plush, but the African American is not.
You find out that there are people of color who refuse to live down to our expectations of them. I am now watching, at the national level, that exercise that I did based on eye color being reenacted in the government of the United States of America.
She did this survey based on the colors of eyes, not race, eyes. And this is what she got.
I've done this with people of all ages for the last 50 years. Now think about that. Next year it will be the 50th anniversary of the killing of Martin Luther King Jr. and the beginning of the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise. When are we going to learn?
Did you hear what she said? 50 years that she's been doing these exercises, proving to the American people and to the world that this is a taught exercise. Racism is taught. Racism is embedded from the mind as a babe.
When are we going to put a stop to this? White people's number one freedom in the United States of America is the freedom to be totally ignorant about those who are other than white. We live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. White people are the free, and people of color have to be brave.
I picked Jane Elliott because she speaks my truth. Because Jane Elliott has exposed each and every demonic thought that she's experienced, that she's witnessed, that she's tried to deprogram.
I want this situation to change. I want it to be such that no black person has to have courage to get up in the morning, any more than I, as a white person, have to have courage to get up in the morning. This is the most important book you or I or anybody else will ever read. I'm an educator. Every educator should refuse to perpetuate the myth of white superiority. There's only one race. It's the human race.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share snippets of our historians here in America, African American culture, Caucasian culture. But Jane Elliott is someone that I respect at the highest regards as far as into teaching what racism is and how it has been developed. I would suggest that you guys take a look at some of her YouTube videos. You can learn a lot from that. You can learn a lot about what to expect, how the Caucasian race thinks. She also has videos of classroom seminars where she's showing the world, not just people that want to look at it. She's shown this for years, over 50 years. The behavior that has been adapted and adopted by a race of people. And all I can say is that we are looking for change here. We have a declaration to request and demand that we change this environment. This is a hostile environment for African American people. I didn't say the people, I said this is a hostile environment. And I would be thinking that we would be trying to take our legislators and go to their emails and start making rallies that we want change now. The proof is already in the pudding. It's already been stirred in the pot. We don't need any more anyone else to start saying we want to review this, we want to talk about that, because it's already done. This has been historically put down on paper in the U.S. History Congress Library, all of these things that I am talking about. The facts are there. Now, the one thing that we must understand is no one wants to be removed from power. No one will give it up without a fight. So this cannot be done by one person alone. This cannot be done by one created race, one culture. This has to be a united effort. And what we're doing is we're looking for those that want to say openly that they support us, that they support this cause. I started this conversation out with Abraham Lincoln's death. The death came as soon as he made a promise, because the African Americans have been made many promises. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about more of those promises further up into the program. But he promised 40 acres and a mule. And when he promised that, he didn't just promise it to the slave Africans, he promised it to the free ones too that were in that area. So today he dies, the promise is broken and breached, and no one can find it in their mind to know that this has been a great catastrophe and it shouldn't have been done. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little music, settle it down. My horn player is going to give me a little something. And thank you guys for coming out to Inspirational Moments with Yolo. Hi, welcome to Inspirational Moments with Yolo. We're in Knoxville, Tennessee. We're at the Alex Haley Heritage Center. At this point, we're going to, I want to introduce Miss Felicia Osti and Audrey Wallace. They run a company here. They are pillars in the community. These women do so much for the community in arts and culture and networking. They are amazing. These are the go-to people here in Knoxville. If you want to know the who's who, these two are definitely it. We really want to thank them Inspirational Moments with YOLO. Really am thankful to have you guys out. It is truly amazing to see you guys, and thank you so much for all of your efforts and all of that good stuff that you give us. And I just want you guys to tell us about your company, what you got going on. Share some stuff with us. Thank you, little guy. We appreciate all that. And I want to give the mic over to you two, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. One love. All right, well, I am Miss Felicia, and I'm with Divine Urban Expressions, Culture, Arts, and Dance. And I have here my partner, I call her my sister-in-law. She has her own organization, which is Creative Community Arts. And then we work along with our sister, who's not here. Her name is Doretha Taylor. This is Miss Audrey Wallace, if I didn't say, and Doretha. And Doretha has From Ashes to Glory. But what we do is we form an alliance of God's Northern Women of Vision. That is our name. And what we've done is we understand that working separately for so many years has been difficult. So we got together to help each other with their vision. So whenever Miss Audrey needed help, we stand behind her. If Miss Didi need help, we stand behind her. And so they stand behind me. And so a lot of people don't know that the Love is the Answer. Behind the scenes of the Love is the Answer is Audrey Wallace and Miss Doretha Gist. And I also wanted to say on yesterday, Doretha Taylor. And what I want to say on yesterday. So yesterday we had one of our Love is the Answer community showcases. We do this every month. And we've been doing this for the past 6 years. Even when Corona hit, we were still going. Yes, we just probably went in the house and did it online. So you can go to Love is the Answer Community Showcase on Facebook. But one thing that I did not do yesterday when we did our Black History celebration was I didn't shout out my team. My team on last night has been my team since day one. And you guys will be surprised to know that my DJ is my 16-year-old son, Dynamic Ray. And my MC, along with our co-host, Mr. Bilal Davis, was my 12-year-old daughter, Mashayla Petway, who is a writer, a young writer. And Dynamic Ray is a DJ. He is also a dancer. He does videography. He has a YouTube channel, Dynamic Ray. Check him out. And then we have my daughter, Lanaya, who performs, but she also works behind the scenes. But she's our belly dancer. She actually portrayed the first Black belly dancer, who is named Nakish. So she did that yesterday. But for the past 3 years or 4 years that we've been doing our Black History celebration, Lanaya, she has been performing Strange Fruit. She had done that for a very long time, a cappella sometimes, and even with music. But on yesterday, one of our mothers, who actually is a partner of mine in the community, she actually got me started. She portrayed Emmett Till's mom. And that mother, she said she needed Strange Fruit and she forgot to give it to us. So I said, oh, well, that's strange because Lanaya has been singing this song forever. She said, do you think she'll sing it for me? So I motioned for Lanaya to come over. They had a chat and Lanaya sung the song for her. So that's my oldest daughter. And then I have one more daughter who normally is really low key. But she is the one who prepared all of, if you went to we had a living wax museum before the showcase. And she's 18, she just turned 18, but she created all of the information that was displayed on the wall with the pictures of everyone. So that's my team. I just say that because a lot of people don't understand the importance of really showing love and teaching love and modeling love to children, but also passing on the torch. Those children are my children, and they actually helped me in the community. But the thing is, I did that for my grandmother when I was young. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. And when I was little, my grandma saw things in me, and she put me in front of the church and singing, which I didn't think I could sing. But dancing is what I really wanted to do. But when I got to school, they did the same thing. They saw something in me, and they were nurturing my gifts. So that to say, I said that to say this, is when I was in the 6th grade, one of my teachers gave us a poem to read and recite. And that poem was Phenomenal Woman. And then that was by Nikki Giovanni. I learned when I moved to Knoxville, probably 20 some years later, that Nikki Giovanni was from Knoxville, Tennessee. And not a lot of people knew that. So as I continue on my path to teach love to children and also provide opportunities for the community and all the talented youth to be nurtured in their gifts and talents, I wanted to be able to have a platform where I could actually educate our people on the people that have already gone before them to pave the way for them. So that's why we have been doing the celebration of Black History Month. Thanks to the Muse, yesterday we were able to have it there. So I just want to give you a little rundown of everybody on our guest list. Yesterday we had Miss Phyllis Wheatley, who was Miss Audrey Wallace portrayed her. But we also had a figure in the women's suffrage movement who was portrayed by Vivian Shipe, a voice of the voiceless. We had Mamie Till, who was played by a very own Talani Stewart, who is also a mother who lost her son in Knoxville in 2010. And I would say she is probably one of the mothers that has encouraged other mothers through her bravery to start speaking out and and just moving in their gifts to try to reach and show love and also help prevent the violence. But Talani Stewart, she portrayed Mamie Lee, and she's with MTT. And then we had, I said, my daughter Lanaya, who is the first Black belly dancer, but she also has her own business, so she's with Simply Complex. We also welcome Miss Maya Angelou, which I'll tell you a little bit about her because I portrayed Maya Angelou. And we had, Tupac Shakur was represented by Mr. Bilal. We had Bobby Mays that was represented by Mr. Estevan Hollingsworth, who's about 10. And then we had the Black Panthers, who were portrayed by Pop 10. And so, well, I know what I forgot to do yesterday is I forgot to pass the mic to Mr. Alan Jones. And so I have Alan Jones with me today. And Alan Jones, he's going to tell us a little bit about himself. So this young man is my other son. So I mentioned all my kids, and this is Samaj. And so I will have Samaj tell us a little bit about Minister Alan Jones, and I'll help him as well. Okay, you ready? All right. So, what's your name?
My name is Samaj Walker.
And who did you portray?
I portray Alan Jones.
Now, who is Alan Jones? What did Mr. Alan Jones do? What do you have in your hand?
He draws.
Okay, so he's an artist?
Yes.
Okay, and what kind of pictures did he draw?
He draw
What's over here?
he draw you and he draw my sister.
Okay, so this Minister Jones, on this board, you'll see that there are a lot of phoenixes. So he has phoenixes, and he has a Blacks in the Bible series. And it says on his board that Alan Jones is an airport director. So he does work at the airport in Knoxville. And he is a minister of the church. He is also an artist. And it says exactly that he has, the name of his series is called Blacks in the Bible. And he has done many murals, and some can be viewed at the Beck Culture Center. So if you actually go to the Beck Culture Center and look on the front of the building, you can hold that, you will actually see a mural that Minister Jones did. If you go in the Beck Culture Center and look on the wall, you'll see a timeline that Minister Jones did. And yes. And if you go to I know for sure if you go to UT, the Black Culture Center, you will see a sculpture that Minister Jones drew that allowed for the artist to brick the actual sculpture. So when we talk about greatness, or if there's an absence of, I just want to let you know that there are a lot of people in Knoxville that may not be tooting their own horns, but they are great. And Minister Jones is one of them. And he has worked along with a lot of people, a lot of great leaders, Black leaders in Knoxville, and another one would be Deacon Sibley. And together they actually had the Literacy Imperative Center in Knoxville for a while. And that organization opened its doors to me and about 7 other artists, and gave us the creative license to go out into the community when the doors were shut in 2014 when the church bought the building. So I want to say a little bit about Deacon Sibley, and I believe him and several other prominent leaders in our community, or just community leaders like Miss Nkechi Ajanaku, I know Mrs. Zimbabwe, and Deacon Sibley. They're responsible for this park. We are in this park because of a couple of them who had a vision. And the city may have, authorized the funds, but it was their vision. And I hope you guys know, take a moment. Thank you. Take a moment to find out how this statue was actually built and who did it. But I think her name is on the name, but this is an African-American woman actually built this, and she was a renowned sculptor. Yes. So anyway, I found out about that when I went back home to Birmingham. My father is a builder, and he was bricking a teacher's house, and she wanted the whole block built. And she started telling me about her friend in Knoxville, Tennessee, that did this sculpture. Her friend did this, and I was like, wow. So, and I can't remember, is it Phyllis Nichols? I can't remember her name at the moment, but I think it's very, something profound to know. And you guys know that Alice Haley had roots here. Yes, and he had family, in Clinton. So anyway, I just thought it was important to share. So that is what I do, and right now I want to just share some of my poetry, my words, spiritually spoken, that I write, because I believe that it is important to express yourself. And also, I believe in moving Knoxville in love. And what that means is motivating all to overcome violence through expression. So I do like to do that. And I if anybody's that is listening that has ever supported the Love is the Answer Community Showcase, I just want to say thank you. But preferably, I want to be able to say there are a bunch of young people that have stood behind our efforts. And we have, a lot of stigma around the music, there being negative music. And I think you mentioned a lot of kids that passed away last year. Where as a result of what happened last year, we did what was called the Move in Love showcase. And we went around the community just paying tribute to loved ones lost, giving the mic to mothers and also fathers, but children. This is the thing. A lot of times the children don't really get the mic. I sometimes want to do a survey of all the young men that are in jail that are convicted of murder to see how many people did they actually lose in their life. So the thing is that you model behaviors, you learn behaviors, but what if you never had the support, the emotional support that you needed? And so I feel like if we don't have money, we can use our gifts, we can start there, because that's what happened with me. So I told you all that stuff, but I didn't tell you that my grandmother was killed by my grandfather. I never got a chance to meet her, but my father, who was about 18, was the one who pulled the gun out of his father's hands. So I was born probably when he was 20, after he married my mom. And just throughout my life, I started learning the story. But one thing I noticed, that my father he was close to his father. So I didn't understand it. He never talked about the violence at all. And it's just as I got older and I started understanding, I saw he had 8 kids. You know, I think I should just share the poetry because I write about that, but you'll understand why we do what we do and how we believe that giving people a creative outlet of expression can definitely help them to overcome the violence. And so that's what it's about. And so I'm going to share creatively that way for those of you who can hear with the creative and listening ear. All right. So thank you so much. I'm going to allow my awesome, I better say that if you didn't get a chance to see me yesterday, my son dance, well, we didn't get to dance, but we will be dancing at Minister Jones's exhibit. He has an art exhibit. It's actually on the 25th in Maryville College. And we welcome you all to come. And actually, his son and Minister Jones, they have a lot of art pieces. And as Samaj said, Minister Jones, he actually, he does his best to depict people in the Bible, but he uses all of his friends and people who he have been inspired, who's doing the work in the community. So you will see a lot of faces. He has basically drawn faces, like Brother Sibley's faces, on some of his artwork of the people in the Bible. I think that he's getting ready to do something about me and my son. I think I will be Hagar and my son will be Ishmael, which is great. So you guys should just come here and check out his work. So anyway, that's Minister Jones, and thank you, Miss Audrey. All right, this first piece that I want to share. How much time do I have? 3 minutes? 3 minutes. Okay. All right, so I was going to see. So I wanted to share the one that I wrote for Black History. Thank you. Yes, and can I take the mic off? I need to just stand right here.
You're good.
I can take the mic?
Yeah, just don't point it at the speaker and you're fine.
Oh no, I won't do that. I just want to come over here. Can I come over here?
Yeah, you should be good.
All right. It's good? Okay. All right, that's the camera. Okay. All right. So normally this would be music. The Harriet Tubman music would be playing in the background. And that was called Stand Up. But this poem is called More Than Free. If we truly knew our history, we wouldn't have time nor the mind to repeat it. Let us go back to the days we were no longer slaves, and our minds were fixed on remaining free. And we were more than determined and moved in faith to be all that we knew we could be. Let us embrace those before us who weathered great storms of many calibers that can only be perceived in our minds. And if ever there was a time to be grateful for their experience without actually experiencing their pain, now is the time. Let us allow gratitude to keep us on the path that many of them only imagined one day they'd be, while keeping in mind that the same freedom that we take for granted today is the same exact freedom that many of them never got to see. And if we are to be moved to our destiny, let us do more than remain free, yet activate our power to fulfill our purpose on God's green earth, to be all He has created us to be. Let it move us to walk in faith, to illuminate and celebrate the great accomplishments and self-defining moments of not just sons and daughters conceived of mothers and fathers born enslaved, but of all those before us and amongst us refusing to allow the horrid events leading to and stemming from slavery throughout our history to seal their fate. Let us allow the same love that propelled the great Carter G. Woodson, alumni of my alma mater, Berea College, to become known as the father of Black history, and to no longer allow us to perpetuate the mindset of our enslaved people, yet allow us to permeate the shoes of the once oppressed people, rising to the occasion to do more than just walk in their greatness, thus fulfilling their final destiny to be more than just free, So it is written, let it be done. One love. All right.
Oh my gosh, you are so amazing. Thank you, Miss Felicia Oste. She is so amazing. Do you hear her? This is what her business does. She teaches and she rounds and molds them so that they can pull this up out of them. She takes teenagers, children's, little bitty toddlers and teach them how to move and use their talents to come and be a better person. And I just really love that. I love everything she stands for.
Thank you.
I love her, and you will be seeing us. This is someone I'm going to get next to. She's amazing. She's a pillar in the community, and this is a go-to. And
Can I say one more thing?
yeah.
All right. I forgot to mention that our mission at this time is to teach love to children. When you teach love to children, they're able to learn, observe, visualize, and express. And that's love. Love. And not just children. So children, communities, churches, and cities, and civic leaders. I believe that when we learn love, then we're able, not just learn love. See, in order for them to learn love, we must model that love. The same love that we saw Harriet Tubman do, we saw Dr. King, we saw that love. We can name all the greats, Frederick Douglass, all the greats before us. They did what they did because of love. Love for themselves, love for their abilities, what God told them to do, and that is what enabled them to love others. So that's what we're on, and that's what we hope is contagious, just as contagious as COVID right now. We want love to be contagious. So, and we do draw our model of Jesus. We believe that Jesus was the great commander of love. We believe that God is love, and we command, or we challenge all of those who say that they trust in God to love the way God commands, because that is the first command. So love is the answer. God bless.
Let me just say that Miss Audrey, I've been knowing her. We were one of the first black women that we knew that were business owners here, moving in the community. She's been shaking and breaking this place down, breaking down barriers since the early 2000s. So she is someone that I honor, and I am very thankful to have in my corner for what I'm doing and what we are doing, because see, I'm new back here, and so these are the women that God has brought me to keep soldiering on this journey to make things happen the way they should. So I just wanted to thank you, because I knew that Miss Audrey said that she is a behind the scene person, but I appreciate her coming up, showing everyone that she is who she says she is, and we thank her for it. Thank you, Miss Audrey. If there's anything you'd like to say.
Okay, very briefly.
Okay.
So, can you hear me with my mask on?
Okay, I'm going to backpack so you can take it.
Okay, all right. So, I am Miss Audrey Wallace, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm proud of you and all that you're doing, and I'm watching you, so you're doing awesome. So, I'm very proud of Miss Felicia as well. So, I'm Miss Audrey Wallace, and I am with a 501c3, Canvas Can Do Miracles, and we have a free art center on Magnolia. It is 1218 Magnolia. It's called the Canvas Can Do Miracles Center. And we have free art classes for children and adults. Okay, so we'll start back up when it gets warmer, probably in March, we'll start back up. But right now, we're teamed up with the Cattywampus Puppet Council, and we're making puppets for our upcoming parade. That's a part of the Big Ear Festival that's going to be March the 26th. So we're having classes at the YWCA on Cruise Street on Wednesdays from 5 to 8. So we welcome you to bring your children and come and join us. But back to the Canvas Can Do Miracles. We are putting together a campaign to gain funds to purchase a location, because we need a permanent location. We've been in with a lot of different organizations, but it's time for us to have our own. So if you'd like to have more information about what the Canvas Can Do Miracles is doing, please contact Miss Jackie Holloway at 865-382-3599 and come see us. And anytime that we're doing anything, come join us.
So this is what she's doing, and I'm just shouting this out because when she began to tell her organizations did and do, I began to think of birthday parties, events that we could just get together, sipping, little tea parties to have and do those things. And I think that that's a great opportunity for the community, and then not just the African American community, the community as a whole, to participate and support these organizations and businesses. These are Black-owned businesses, Black woman-owned businesses, and we need your support, and we thank you for it. And thank you so much, Miss Audrey, for having me. Now, I've got my horn guy, and I've got one more snippet, and we're going to wrap up this celebration. It has been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time. I'd like to thank the city of Knoxville. I'd like to thank the Knoxvillians, the community, Promotions LLC, my marketing team, my management team. I love and thank them for everything that they're doing for us. There's a slew of everybody that came out today, all the naysayers and the ones that wanted to say they were going to do it and they weren't. But I'm appreciating the ones that keep their fists in the air and keep moving forward. And so we thank them. I thank them. Inspirational Moments with Yolo. Thank you all for allowing yourselves to take the time out to share in this celebration of Black History Month at the Alex Haley Heritage Park. Thank you. And John, take it away one more time for us, please, sir.